Sensie Owl Bob. So what are you doing? Huh?
Running up against the revelation that the American people really dislike what they're doing, and people are willing to let that be known. They're running up against constituents, even Republican constituents, people who live in bright red districts and states, telling their members of Congress and their senators how much they dislike what Trump is doing. They're running up against people protesting against it. The pushback all over this country has thrown down stop strips in the road to flatten their tires and at least slow them down, and sometimes to stop them. And it has happened everywhere. And none of it has been easy, given the scale of what they are trying to do to this country.
Anyway, tonight is the first new moon, and it's a very interesting full moon. It's called a black full moon. And what that means, there is a thing called black energy and black matter, because as we have developed our technologies, we've been able to view our universe in ways that we haven't as of yet, at least not in the last 10,000 years, right? I mean, there were other cultures before us that definitely not only could view this, but understood it. And also, if you go far enough back enough, they invented the universe, right? Now, the great, creator, that which is love's co-creation, and we are that reflection, right? So we have been a work in progress, as is the great creator, right? Now you read King James and the New Testament, and you read the Hebrew texts, right? And that's just a Torah, which in Greek means you suck, right? And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensie Owl Bob. That's me. And how you doing, right? And as the crew starts to come on board, let's have some interesting dialogue, right? Back in the day when the cadre was interesting, we had some good conversations, and that was way back, way back, right? And now it's like, why can't people say more than hi? Let's have a little more interesting dialogue. Anyway, where am I? Since none of you can understand that I can't see well, so the little stuff you put down there and the kind of emojis you use, I can't see them, right? So, in essence, you will be considered somewhat irrelevant unless you're going to have some kind of dialogue. Not just said hi, all right? So Ben, Daz, right? USA. Come on, let's have some dialogue, right? So, as I was saying, the new moon is the black moon. And what that black moon is, it's a portal, right? And I've been talking about how things have been changing for the last 3 months. It really has been changing since Donnie took office in the 20th of January this year. And here we are pushing towards the 9th month. September's the 9th month, right? And 9/11 is a really interesting number in mnemonics. And so that's why, the towers came down and all of that went down, because it was a number of power. And so here we are 20-something years since then, and we're going to have another interesting little situation occur. So that's, and the interesting thing about this one is that interesting event that's going to happen in 9/11 actually starts tonight, right? And now I'm sure any of you who are somewhat sensitive have been sensing this. You might be constipated, you might have diarrhea, you might have projectile vomiting, um, and you experience that, and then you look around and no one sees you soiling your pants or making a mess in front of you, unless you are the orange turd, pretty much. He is a representation. He's a game show host, right? And all his chuckleheads are the same. So they're all there for themselves. They're ripping off as much money as they can. And when the dollar ceases to be the central currency of business and becomes worthless, all of that they have been doing is like worthless, right? And Donnie has been doing all kinds of trying to muscle and bully and all the rest, and he's doing it to the American people. He's doing it mostly to the people who elected him, all those people with red hats, right? So, and everyone, even if they don't know it, feels what's occurring, right? And a lot of people call it the transition or there's a lot. I call it the big splat, right? And it's controlled by what I call the hidden hand, and Stan Lee called it Hail Hydra, right? So there's an entity of that nature, and it is trying to play these esoteric, occult, paranormal powers in a very mundane kind of, thing for power. And you are not your body. You are not you. You are not this bag of, this is an illusion. This is an avatar. This is so your soul can have a sandbox to play in, right? And your life is not about you. It's about the we in me. It's not, my life is not about me. It's about the we, right? And so that is what you have to start to contemplate, right? And we are in the time of the snake, and that's Chinese astrology. And there are these different, time bands. And, some move at 2,000 year bands, some 4,000, 6,000, 20,000, 26,000. And every millennial, like maybe million years, it's like a Venn diagram, and they all kind of come together and hit a level of synchronicity. All the levels of astrology become synchronicity. And one of the things the only thing really that makes America great, it's not our location, it's not our wealth or power, none of the above. What it is basically when we come together as the we and me, we're unstoppable. Now, there are a lot of countries that have that they can step up to a challenge. You look at Ukraine, it's doing pretty amazing, right? And Russia has, 100 times more manpower, 100 times more resources. 100, when they started, they had like 100,000 times more tanks and trucks and artillery. And Ukraine over the last 3 years has whittled it down to now Russia is driving around in 1950s tanks, right? All of their modern hardware is toast, right? And yes, they can throw up their own versions of, well, there really aren't their own versions. They're versions made by Iran of, drones. And they can go hit, apartment houses in Kiev and Odessa and kill innocent people, right? But they're having a hard time go after military things, right? Now they can, they are basically sacrificing 10,000 of their Russian young men, putting in the meat grinder to get like an inch, right? They're losing, they've lost 1 million, right? Ukraine has lost 70,000. And that's, a big thing, right? But these are all, it's like Donald Trump. Donald Trump isn't the problem. He is the example. He is the, the problem is not Donnie, because he's just a game show host, right? He's here to destroy the United States, Russia, England, the EU, and China, right? But, he's quickly chewing himself up, which is, what it is.
My mom was diagnosed with severe dementia at 78.
Poor
Today, at 82, her memory.
For energy workers in Texas, the irony is painful. America may have oil, but without Canadian copper and rare earths, building the next generation of clean energy infrastructure becomes far more difficult. Projects stall, investments wobble, and thousands of American jobs in construction and energy services hang in the balance. In California's Bay Area, the impact turns personal. Semiconductor companies that design the world's most advanced chips are warning of imminent shortages in neodymium, praseodymium, and other rare earth elements critical to high-performance electronics. Every iPhone, every laptop, every medical imaging device runs on these materials, one analyst told CNBC. Without them, Silicon Valley goes dark. For a state that prides itself on leading the global tech race, Canada's decision feels like a direct strike at its innovation engine. Venture capital firms are already revising projections downward, while chip foundries prepare contingency plans to slow production.
And that's just one of the multiple unbelievable things that have been done in the last 7 months to destroy this country. Meaning we have been a toast since the end of World War II. But because we survived World War II without being bombed into dust like everybody else, and we had a mammoth manufacturing base, and we had resources, we could take over, and we had a navy that wasn't sunk. We had the auspices to project our power. And instead of doing it in a righteous way, everything we ever did was selfish in our own, to create our own power base, and that's why it was unsustainable. And most empires takes 700, 800, 900 years to create the empire, and then it takes 300 or 400 years to, come to the end. And so most empires lasted, close to 1,000 years, give or take, and not us, So we'll still be here, but we will be we're already a banana republic, right? So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob. That's me, right? And it's 13 minutes and 40 seconds into the show. Somebody came back. There's 4 likes. Thank you very much. Subscribe. Come on. Let's get the algorithm a little more noticing and pushing us out into the public. But it's okay. I mean, I've been doing this now for close on 10 years, and because I started in 17 or 16. So, this is will be 2026. So anyway, and I started out with John Boy, Johnny Toilet, and we were quite the interesting. We were like Abbott and Costello. We were like Dean Martin and what's his name, the comedian. Hey, lady, that guy, and Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. I mean, that was us. And being the Aquarian that I am, I'm very much the introvert, but I enjoy people's company, right? And that's the interesting thing about Aquarians. Our basically skill set is to work with people, right? And I've been very good at it. So I'm not like the leader. I mean, I have to, I can be, right? If I need to be the guy on the podium, I can do that, right? I've done it. I've given the speech. But what it is, as one of my great teachers told me, he said, Al, you have a great talent of being able to speak to power, speak truth to power. Yet the average man can hear you, but not appreciate what you're saying. You can tell them a story, and they're really interested, but as you get closer and closer to truth, the average person falls asleep. And when you are telling a story and people fall asleep, that is the direct example of a character like me. I'm a character that can tell truth to power. Now, power can hear what I'm saying, but they're in a small little group of people. So when they see me or hear me, and I'm there giving them, and I give it as insight, not as a threat, not as a declaration, not as any of the above, but as insight. So I'm viewed as a valuable asset, right? So, and when I died in 2014, I kind of said, well, for me to, survive, because I didn't die, I came back and I was totally, that's why I'm in the shape I'm in now. But, it was pretty amazing. I had, my legs were black. They wanted to chop them up. They wanted to take 20 feet out of my colon. They wanted to do open heart surgery. I mean, I would have been dead. But because I realized I was sent back to be, because I was Love's Co-Creation's doula, that's, and I was told in my experience of life review of that time, because I had two others, basically, I wasn't finished. Right? Still had more to do. You're doing great. You've been doing great. Keep up the good job, kid. We're sending you back. And because of what I did for 10 years, working for the corporate desperate lawyers and lived their lifestyle. Now, I experienced their lifestyle. I didn't live it, right? Because my life had more to do with other things. I was doing lots of other stuff. And I was living basically with the poor, but I was working for the corporate elite, right? And when I worked for them, I was staying in 5-star hotels with my dogs and living high on the hog. I started in 2003. I died in 2014. I gained an extra 200 pounds. So when I was starting off, in 2003, I was weighing about 250, right? And then you add another, 200 pounds. That's like 450. I was heading toward, that's when I died and played a linguine, right? So anyway, that's what I'm doing here. And so I knew for me to recuperate. So I sold everything. The rich man asked Jesus, how do I get to heaven? And Jesus said, sell everything you have and give all of it to the poor. So that's what I did. I sold everything I had except for the deep green in my car. And as I was cleaning out the school, I took, lots of books and tools and, time's coming to the end and I'll have to be a prepper and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of did that. And also, I wanted to build a nice little shack for myself. So, I'm still I still live in the material world. At least this avatar does. So, I'm not, and I'm sure if God wanted me to, I could lose everything. Like in Boone, North Carolina, probably before the pandemic. So somewhere around 2019. I was in Boone, and I was in the little strip where Harris Teeter's is, and they have a Dollar Tree and a few other stores. Anyway, I was in the Dollar Tree, my favorite store, buying dollar goods, and I came out, and there was a guy sitting at a bench there. Right now, they've taken all the benches, and the lady who ran the Dollar Tree at that time left one bench in front of the dollar store just because she had been homeless when she was a little girl. And so she never really looked at the homeless people because they would come in there and you could buy hot dogs. You could buy, it was the poor man's Walmarts, right? They had lots of different stuff, everything at $1, right? It wasn't $1.25 yet. So anyway, there's a guy, and I've just bought like maybe $8 worth of Dollar Tree stuff, and I have a $5 bill and a dollar bill, right? And I'm looking at this homeless guy, and there's a dog there, and the guy there is like, eating the hot dogs, not cooked, just eating the hot dogs out of the pack. And I got the $5 and the dollar bill in my hand, and I go, and that's all I have, right? Until my next Social Security check, like 2 weeks from that day. And this is all I have, And so I got a full tank of gas, right? And I paid my electric bill, and those are the only two kind of things, right? And somewhat, in okay shape, I just come from one of my doctors. And so anyway, I go over to the guy and I hand him the $6. I don't even keep $1. I give him $6. And the guy looks at me and smiles. He goes, "You need it more than I do." I said, No, come on. He goes, "Well, thank you. Why don't you sit down and why don't we talk? And would you like a hot dog?" And I look at that, he shows me the pack. Now he's been eating them, and the pack is still full of like, 8 hot dogs, right? There's 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom. And maybe he bought a couple of packs, and this is the new pack. I didn't notice him open it up. Anyway, so I say, okay. And I've eaten raw hot dogs before, right? I know the delight. And he had this thing of relish, mustard, whatever it was. It's like a jar, and I bought it at the store, and he goes, "Dip it in that." It's like, and it was like ambrosia. It was like, whoa, that is amazing, right? So I've eaten half in one bite, and it's like, whoa, yeah. And I look down, and there's the dog, and he's got his head on my leg, and he's drooling for the hot dog, right? So I have half a hot dog, so I break off, a quarter piece, and I see, here you go, buddy. And he leaves his little big head. He's like a bulldog pit bull. And he's got this gigantic head, and he leans it forward and pulls out his tongue, and he kind of wraps it around the hot dog. And it's not like, he just rolls it in. It's got in his mouth, and his eyes like roll up in his head, and it's like, oh yeah, oh my God, this is just amazing, right? So I'm basically, break up another little chunk of the hot dog, and he's like, and so now he's gotten, I've broken up enough little chunks where he's eaten the other half, and he like just leans. He had his head like drooling on my leg. Now he's just leaning on it, like, "Yeah, buddy, you're my buddy." And so Jesus and I start talking. I says, "What's your name?" He says, "Jesus of Nazareth." I'm going, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." Now, I've met many angels, supernatural individuals. So who knows? So we're talking, and he, I know the Bible pretty good. And I said, "So what were the Essenes like?" He goes, "Well, they were a very interesting group of people, just like the Nazarenes." And I said, "Nazarenes?" He said, "Yes, people call me the Nazarene, and it's not that I came from this neighborhood, that was like a cul-de-sac. No, this is a community of people." And, anyway, so we're talking about all of the mysteries that King James kind of left out. And so we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk. And he goes, "It's going to be dark soon, and your eyes aren't that good. You've outstayed your stay." I said, "So do you have a place to stay? You want to come back to the deep green, and I can show, And he goes, "I have things to do." And he puts his little hand, his hand, kind of over my eyes, and I can see 100 times. I no longer have the, the cataracts. I no longer have the floaters of my diabetes, and I can see really well. I said, whoa. So he goes, I'll see you again. No problem. Keep up the good work. And then he offered, we've eaten like 20 hot dogs because I keep dipping in stuff and sharing the other half with him over the time we talked. And still that pack that he had 8 hot dogs in it, right? And so he basically says, see you later. So I get in the car and I'm driving along and I stop at a stop sign and so this is kind of my car. It's my car isn't so much, I don't live in my car. It's more my storage wagon. It's like after the great, I've had other times here where nature did things where I had to jump in the car and get the heck out of there, right? And so this is like my go bag, and my car looked like a go bag. Anyway, so see how like I have this stuff just kind of there. I looked down and there was I'm a big fan of cardboard boxes, to store things and to put a semblance of order into things. Anyway, look down there and there are like 50 $20 bills. And I said, oh, look at that. And I kept those $20 bills. I took most of them and, put them in a safe place in the deep green, but I'd always keep, 10 of them there to, if I need some cash, right? And they never stopped being 10. And the others have about half of them still. So anyway, so that's life. What you think is life is an illusion. And that illusion is controlled by habitual actions. And when you step outside of the habitual actions, you will find that you can really overcome any obstacle, and you can create any environment and lifestyle. And I'm pushing 80, and my whole life, I kind of came to this realization when I was about 4. I kind of knew it right off the bat as an infant. I remember sticking as an infant, like maybe 6, 7, however old you are when you can start crawling. I'm not quite sure when that is, maybe 8 months, maybe a year, who knows. But anyway, when I was in my onesie and I crawled across the carpet in my parents' house, and I don't know where I found the knife, but I had a metal knife, like a butter knife, but a thin butter knife, and I stuck it in the electric socket. And I don't know why I thought to do that. And in the electric socket, most electric sockets, you have a little opening and then a bigger opening and then the little round stuff, right? The little round thing, the ground, the big one is the neutral, meaning the drain for the current. And the little one is the hot leg. And so they make it a little one, so it's hard to stick something in there unless it's a plug, right? So anyway, I stuck the knife in there. It was the perfect size to fit in there, and it was all metal, didn't have a insulated handle or wooden handle. It was just all metal. I stuck it in there, and because I wasn't grounded to anything, I just kind of got the little, yeah. And basically, I kind of experienced a understanding of physics, the universe, and love's co-creation. And from that point on, that's another, I remember getting born because I died when I was born, right? And so I had a very interesting experience being born. So I kind of remember that, bottom line about what you remember about your life. My family, everyone in my family has a different take on what happened with our family, right? Some of my brothers and sisters don't even remember anything from birth until they were like 12, and the other stuff was just kind of a blur, kind of a, you know, PTSD experience. Me, it was more like a cartoon show, because I was so small, people didn't even know I existed, and I just observed, right? So, anyway, so you have the opportunity. So here we have this amazing thing that we're going through the snake, um, Venn diagram, right? And it's lasting, when the last full moon is when it started, right? And so that was like 2 weeks ago. And now, the moon waned and we had darkness, and now we have the new moon, right? And this is not a regular new moon. This is what is known as the black moon. And they come around like every million years. So that's to kick off. Now, this change, this, or whatever you want to call it, it's been going on, since the 60s when that song came out. It's the age of Aquarius. And that's when we were pulling into the Aquarian age. And because we were in the Piscean age. And Piscean age is the age of getting what you want through violent force without understanding anything, right? So that's kind of, we're at the zenith of that. We have a, moron, orange turd, game show host as the leader of this, and fairly low, voted in, he didn't, I mean, there is no such thing as you go watch George Carlin, and he gives a very good explanation of the dynamics of what our country is and what the world is, right? He's very good at that. And what we're in, we never were a democracy, right? We were at best supposed to be a republic, but a plutocratic, a plutocratic autocracy, right? The rich rule, period. And they still do. But now it's without any illusion, and it's also without any space, because everyone else who wasn't rich basically had the opportunity to do something, right? And that's long gone. And so what you have now is this opportunity to change your snake skin. You know how snakes just shed their skin and then they got a new one? That's us. When we so this night, today, not just the night, 12 o'clock, midnight, of this day, going towards 12 o'clock, midnight of the new day of Sunday. This day has been a day where if you were consciously intent on who and what and where you were, it's a new beginning. So you still got to, right now it's like, what is it, 3 o'clock? So, you got a good 9 hours to sit someplace and think about who and what you are, right? So here we are, 3 people watching, 6 thumbs up. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. Here it is, 30, what is that? 33. I love that, right? Synchronicity. I'm going to do a guided meditation right now, and to show you who and what you are, and to give you insight into what the black moon is. Okay, can you do that? I think you could. So here we go. So sit yourself down someplace, or lie in bed or on a couch. Put yourself in a safe place. Don't do this while you're driving a car, flying an airplane, or using heavy equipment, because you're going to leave this dimension and go into another, right? Which you actually exist in more than this dimension. This is the illusion. The other one ain't, right? That's your spirit. That's your, Akashic record, right? And then in the library of your Akashic record is the 9 doors, right? Which you can go through to their dimensional doors. You can go to other places, right? And there's a big fireplace, just like the one in Harry Potter, where you can flap the flue and go anywhere, right? Better than Uber. So here we go. So come on, sit down, breathe. Fill your lungs up, Fill your lungs up. Fill your lungs up. Fill them up. Come on, more. And then out. My favorite song, I would say right now, because it changes all the time. My favorite song is Pink. You know, the female pop music star. I think she's the best pop music star, right? And she has a song about, Mr. President. She has another great song about lifting the glass, in celebration of life, right? And she has another song about she's singing to her 12-year-old self, right? You should go, and that album is called Pink. So go listen to that. And another great one about breaking up with her boyfriend that is just hilarious. My swimming pool is big. You could fit your whole house in. I mean, I really like Pink. Anyway, so that's my favorite album at the moment. I got a lot of favorite albums. And why I kind of, answered that question there is because you took that big breath, and then I said, breathe out. You should still be breathing out. Because the more you breathe out, more you exhale, more you eliminate your breath from your lungs, the more you can breathe in. And the more you can breathe in, the more you can understand, right? Puts you in a state, right, of conscious intent, because you need conscious intent to do that, right? And that album, Pink, that, that whole album is conscious intent, just like, Purple Rain, right? That album, again, is conscious intent, right? And Revolution of the Beatles, the same, right? And one after it, where they're walking across the street all barefoot in London. What other albums? There's so many I really love. So anyway, just breathing in and breathing out. Just breathe in as much as you can in and as much as you can out. And just keep doing that, right? And because you're in a chair or you're in a couch or you're in a safe place, you're not driving a car, flying a plane, or using heavy equipment, you will be able to let all of your body go. The edifice, your avatar, right? You can put it on autopilot and go into your Akashic record. And where that is right behind your eyelids. When you are dreaming and you have rapid eye movement, you're in one of the 9 doors, actually. But to get there, you got to go through your Akashic record, right? So see that clearly, right? So you got your eyes closed and it's dark, and then you look over right smack in the middle of your eyelids, and it's silver, and then it's gold, and it's bright. And that's what that dark moon is, right? It is a black hole, right? And black hole has the heaviest, gravity that there is. And gravity is we name it as one of the four, there's, the EMF, the strong force, the weak force, gravity, and time. Those are the 4, right? Now we understand time. We don't. We don't. We think we do. We experience it from this second to this second to this second, and it's all going that away, right? Towards death, right? But that ain't time. Time is very malleable, right? And we know, the EMF and a strong and a weak force. Now, those are things we've measured, we've postulated, we've discovered, but still we don't understand them, really. We can isolate them, but that's as much as we can. Then we can have this illusion of describing it through our isolation. But there's this thing called Schrodinger's a thing, meaning when you observe something, it's a particle. No, it's not a particle. It's a wave. When you observe it, it's a wave. And when you're not looking at it, it's just a particle. And all the particles are kind of whooshing in and out of each other. And that's you. We're all, the we and me, we're all whooshing in and out of each other, right? So, can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? So, you're walking through your eyelids, that golden shimmer, and you pop out on the other side, and there's this library. And all the walls and all the shelves are all made of books. You know, the big keep, the big fireplace made out of books. And there's this couch and nice leather chairs and a coffee table so you can have friends over and just sit down and boom, there's whatever you want to drink, whatever you want to eat. And it's just like what was occurring when Moses took the Hebrew nations over the Jordan and went into the promised land or on the edge of the promised land. And because they disobeyed God so much, they never got to walk in. And so they had to be out there in the desert. And they constantly were fed. Every morning they'd have this bucket full of manna from heaven. And they could turn it into matzah, right? And so it kept them alive, right? And it was always water, right? So given to them by God. That was a daily miracle that lasted for 40 years, right? So tonight is a similar thing. Instead of crossing the Jordan by Moses or God opening it up, when, you know, tonight, if you go outside, whether it's raining or it's sunny, I mean, I'd say it's clear sky or what it is, you will sense the depth of the darkness of the moon, right? And you will feel that connection. Now, I want you're walking into your Akashic record, and in front of between you and the keep, the gigantic fireplace and the shelves of books, there's the couch and the two easy chairs and the coffee table, and then there is a reading table, and above it comes a light, and it's photonic light. It's not incandescent light. Incandescent light throws shadows, right? If I did this under a photonic light, there'd be no shadow. So this reading table is illuminated by photonic light. So there's no shadows, there's no lies. And to your left, you see three guides. Your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. So look at your librarian, see what your librarian looks like, define it, what clothes, gender, etc., right? Hairdo, whatever. That's your librarian. See it clearly. Next is the animal, right? And it's like a totem animal, right? So the librarian brings you the information. You will, expose yourself to the information. Read it, see it, whatever, and you may or may not understand it, right? So if you don't understand it, the librarian's not going to explain it, but your animal totem will, through a story. Will tell you a story, just like me, a griot, right? Your animal totem is a griot. Tells you a story that gives you insight, illumination to the story, right? And your guard, so look at what your animal is, see it clearly, understand it, feel a connection, empathy, understand that. Next one is your guardian angel, who always has your back. Now, I'm sure, I've come so close to death and died 7 times that I know I have a guardian angel, because, man, I would not be here if a higher power did not I got shot twice, and just because it grazed me, it's like a Donnie getting the ear, but, if it had hit, I got one shot that grazed my belly, my stomach, right? Now, that bullet had gone in, that was 38, right? Hollow point 38. That bullet had gone into my tummy. Would have blown every organ out the back, right? And that would have been it. But this thing just, it didn't even touch me. It's like the velocity of the bullet kind of, gave me, like, heated up my hand. And the other thing, one day my palm was blown out, same thing. I grabbed the barrel of the gun, and the bullet didn't touch me, but the exhaust coming from the barrel burnt my palm. So anyway, this is our lives. All of you have had these experiences. Most of you don't even notice them, don't even know they happened, right? So I want you to be in that state, okay? You're in that state, right? There you are. You're in that state. Keep breathing. Keep experiencing your state there. We're going to call Toolman. Let's see what he is up to. Come on, stop this. So how you doing? You know, are you? I think that's his number. Yep. Do.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Toolman, you're live on the show, and I got the cadre in their Akashic records.
Oh, beautiful.
Right. So I want you to tell them your experience of, like, I've been telling you that we're experiencing a paranormal period of time that is, we really haven't experienced for a whole millennium, right?
Right.
And I told you about it's 2 weeks ago, the last full moon started this thing called the snake time or the snake goddess and this is a period where we lose our old skin and have a new skin of spiritual understanding. Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I would say it comes down to really letting go of how. So what you want my perspective on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it comes down to kind of letting go. And like we talked about before, it comes down to absolute surrender and surrendering to God. And it's not you who's in control. The thing is, the past 100 years or so, or since humankind started.
Right, exactly. And we don't even know that it could have been 100 years. It's illusion.
We all want to be, I do this, me, I. It's not about me and I anymore.
And it never
was. If it is about me and I,
right,
then you're going to be led down the wrong path because we're in a new beginning.
Yep.
New beginning is letting go and being. That's why God says, I am who I am.
Well, he doesn't say, I am who I am. He actually says, I am a work in progress, and you, meaning you and me, humanity, we are God's reflection, and we're here to give God insight onto what it should be doing.
Correct. Yeah. But that's kind of the meaning behind I am.
Right.
Meaning that's it.
Right.
You are, and just accept it and surrender.
Right. And surrender to love's co-creation. Right. So
right.
Here you are. You're in a very materialist world. I mean, you work on robots.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm in the belly. Yeah.
The belly of the beast.
Right.
And so so you look at your fellow workers, you look at the corporate structure that you work amongst, and what do you see?
I see a lot of corporate slavery, and I don't want to say that as like a cliche, like, I'm a corporate slave. What I mean by that is I see a lot of the path that we're heading down is either the one that we just described or a path of total corporate enslavement.
Right.
And I mean that in many ways. So where I work, I fix robots. I fix the machines. I keep the place running, basically.
You keep the corporate structure running.
Yeah, I keep it running. And for me, that's okay. But, we have production workers. We have many different workers. So all those workers I'm observing. And I pay attention to everything around me. So what they do in this corporation that I work at is they blast as loud as possible negative, mainly hip hop music and rap that is talking about selling drugs and, you know, having sex.
Now, who
ten
is
guys having sex with one woman?
who is blasting that music? The corporate. That's like in the corporate.
Yeah, like the guys in charge.
Right.
Yeah. So not only physically are these people enslaved, but, you know, mentally they have to listen to this negative music. And, you know, we talked about before how controlling your thoughts and having control and being fully conscious is very important. And that will dictate a lot of how your life ends up being or what you become. And that is a big issue I see. So that's kind of what I've been noticing lately. But overall, yeah, I mean, we're in a state now where these people, they're basically there just to get a check. Most of them, you know, live a life of constantly spending their checks and not able to save money. And that's kind of what I see. And for myself, you know, I'm not far off.
Right.
So I'm not saying I'm better or anything. That's kind of where I'm at. A lot of processes are being fully automated with AI, machine learning, the same thing. I mean, all this stuff has kind of been around for a long time. But yeah, they're going full. My site specifically here in Detroit is the proving grounds of how they could maximize the site's efficiency and make it as efficient as possible, So they're basically getting rid of workers. They're automating processes with machines. They're adding more robots, basically to not rely on people.
So did you ever see Spielberg's movie maybe 10 years ago, Player One?
Oh, no, I started it. I got to finish it, though. I never finished it. I only watched like 15 minutes of it. So
remember Pokemon and you wore the glasses and you played the game with reality right in front of you and people would walk in front of buses and stuff?
Yep.
I mean, that was kind of what it was, but it was like total immersion. And total immersion, you don't need, you know, Oculus glasses for total immersion. Total immersion in what's going on now is habitual action. It's our habits.
Yeah.
That's the robot glasses is our habitual action. You know, we eat the same thing. We drive to work in the same way. All of those things we do habitually.
Right. And, you know, if you break those habits, you know, you will see resistance. Because what's around you is, you know, full control. So recently I learned about, you know how there's Internet of Things, IoT.
Yep.
Internet of Things is, you know, a device.
Your refrigerator, your toaster oven.
Yeah. Right. So now I heard a theory from somebody, which is very smart because it's probably going on. You know how if you think of something, and I'm sure your audience will know, if you think of something and you don't even say it, you'll see it pop up on your phone.
Yep.
Advertised.
Yep.
Well, one guy termed this as bodies of things.
Ooh.
So they use frequencies and waves, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. That literally read your thoughts.
Yes.
And they use that data. You are a human Ethernet cord.
Yeah, pretty much.
You use that data, or they use the data, and that's why you see things pop up that you think of and you didn't even say it.
Right.
So it's called bodies of things, and that's kind of what I've been looking at. And I didn't really get into it lately, or research it too much, but I know it's out there, and I know it's being used for sure.
Right. Now and you know, I kind of understood that a long time ago, and that's why I kind of stayed at arm's length from social media and all that. And then I died, and then I sold everything, and then I sold the school to Johnny Boy, and stayed there for a year trying to help him. But then I realized I was just enabling him. So anyway, but the interesting thing I realized was that I understood how whatever I was looking at, they were putting it into a little database about me, and then the algorithm would figure out what they could show me so I might buy something, right? And the fact that I never buy anything, and that I'm, when I look at my phone, it'll say, you were on the internet 6 hours this week. That's like most people are on the internet, 26 hours a day. So anyway, it does a very interesting thing that it puts in my, little stream lots of stuff that I'm thinking about, but has all these interconnections, so I can look at patterns in a way I've always been able to, but this really quickens it, right?
Okay.
Right. So it's a very interesting tool, and the fact that I make sure I don't have the internet in my house. I have to drive at least a mile and go on a neighbor's driveway and use their Wi-Fi, or go to a restaurant or whatever. But the interesting thing, so tonight, right now, we are experiencing a dark moon. It's a new moon, but it's dark. It's not, so there's like dark matter, right?
Right.
So the moon that we're experiencing is a black hole of sorts that is, and the black, matter and the black energy is all around us. They understand that. And, but at this point, we now have the opportunity to utilize that power.
Okay.
And you have to be conscious intent with everything you do, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's tough. Yeah.
It is tough. I had
it's a constant thing. You can't stop practicing.
Yep. You got to do it all the time, or otherwise you can't do it.
Yeah. I know. I've been watching. You told me to watch Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
I've been watching it. It's a good show. It's funny. It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's funny, and it has a deeper meaning. Wednesday is a person who is totally conscious intent at all times.
Yeah, she even says at one point in the first season, she's like, yeah, those are terrible affirmations that I do not, blah, blah, blah.
I don't take part in.
I was like, yeah, I don't take part in. And I was like, oh, that's deep,
And her sidekick thing is also conscious intent, because he has no inputs except for his touch. Right? So he can't hear, can't smell, can't see, can't any of those things. He's just a hand. So he is totally in the paranormal at all times.
Right. And that's how, yeah. And like, we could, they can't hear him, but they could understand him.
Oh, yeah.
From the physical level.
Well, I mean, he basically talks to her using sign language.
Right.
And he can type things and write things and, stuff like that. So, yeah, he makes himself, or it makes himself well known. And Uncle Fester is another character who's kind of...
He's awesome.
Yep. And because he is totally... He doesn't care what anyone thinks of him. He's like, you couldn't miss this guy. I mean, like, he's got this, sidecar motorcycle that looks like a cow, like, it's not like he's trying to hide, but no one notices him,
Right, and he stole it too.
Right.
It's hilarious.
Yep.
So what were you in the audience speaking about mostly today?
Oh, mostly that we're in, new, I mean, not new, but we're in interesting territory where lots of things that have gone down in the human experience and in history is coming up. And we have this chucklehead as president who's destroying the United States, and he's doing it in record time.
Yeah.
I mean, the United States has been being destroyed since pretty much World War I. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, World War One. Europe was totally trashed, and all the empire of all those countries was kind of trashed, and the United States made a lot of money off the war. That's when the military-industrial complex was kind of, we can make money at this, and they didn't get bombed, and their industrial might was made might, and so they made loads of money in the 20s, where they did every crooked, terrible thing you could ever friggin' imagine that made all the other empires look nothing. And they did that in like 10 years, right?
Right.
And they pushed the envelope so far that they basically created the Great Depression.
Yeah, they created the Depression. They realized war makes money.
Right. So
and then they funded the Nazis.
Right, exactly.
And they created the Nazis.
Right, they created
and
yep.
They created a war.
Right. Just like Israel created Hamas.
Bingo.
Yep.
And
that's why Hamas will never give up, because the people who aren't even Jewish, the sycophant political folks who are doing this, and they're not even Zionists. I mean, these guys are just, I don't know what black arts but they're eating themselves. And the poor people who are really going to get trashed by this is the Jewish people themselves.
Oh, I know. They're just, it's a shame.
They're
just going to be always looked at in that way now.
Right, as a pariah, as total, and it's and so Donnie is double downing. He's like, "Oh, you need more bombs? No problem,"
Yeah, he called him and Netanyahu a warlord on an interview.
And all these people say, "Well, Donnie's doing this because they got dirt on him." Of course, but see, he doesn't give a fuck. Meaning, he wants people to know the dirt.
Yeah, he doesn't care. I mean, or he called themselves a war heroes.
Right.
I mean, it's just like we live in this time where these guys are such narcissistic egomaniacs.
Yeah, right. And they get people to go along. I have a number of academics who they blame all of this on the Palestinians.
The Palestinians don't even have anything.
Right, and they're getting the thing is, the Palestinians will win this war because all they have to do is survive.
Yes, they will. I think a lot of them will actually survive.
Yes, unless they use nuclear weapons.
Right, and that, yeah.
They're right now, I'm reading the IDF, what they're writing on their thing, and they're basically saying, well, we're going to take all the Palestinians and push them down south, right on the edge of Egypt, into concentration camps.
No.
They use that word.
And they use the word?
Yes, and they used it over and over. It's concentration camps where we're going to concentrate the population.
Oh, yeah, here we go. So there's the Satanists revealing what they do to you so they don't get karma.
Right. It's like, what? So it's, and again, all of this usually takes 40, 50 years to happen, and everything is going so quickly. And the same thing with the war in Ukraine and Russia. Russia is going to basically be turned into Disneyland, meaning the Russians are killing themselves. Yes, they're trashing Ukraine, but Ukraine is like, they are basically in Ukraine. For every Ukrainian soldier that dies, there's about 500 Russians that die.
Right. Yeah, there are. Yeah.
And they're doing, and those Russians are dying at the hand of their own government. So it's like, it's a very interesting, it's such an illusion of it allows everyone's habitual action to have their own private what they think it is.
Right, it does. Yeah, it's almost like there's so many different angles that people think.
Yep.
And it's wild. It's a weird thing, man.
Yep.
It's not like set in stone like everything used to be. Now, I want to say to your audience.
Yep.
A lot of people sympathize for Russia, and they say and I'm not saying this in talking about war or anything like that.
Right.
What I'm saying is, they act like Russia is this amazing place where, it's free, it's Christian, and they will throw your ass in prison in a second.
Right.
So don't sympathize. Don't cater to,
But that's all of that is called propaganda. And why that is happening is that our country is a mirrored image of Russia. And the only interesting thing is why we're not there is that the one thing that makes America really great and different from any other place is that we're made up of hundreds of different nationalities.
Yeah, we are. We're
right?
like a huge mix.
Right. It's a salad bowl, right? Not a melting pot. It's a salad bowl. We're not Velveeta cheese. And that is,
we're not gonna take on each other's beliefs and religions, but we'll mix.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's fun and interesting and all the rest. And so there are a lot of communities like the ones I live around. They have been the same people for the last 100 years, and they've never had to interact with anybody different.
Yeah.
And now this is all changing, and it has been changing like in the last 10 years from what it had been for the last 50 years. And they're confused, and they have no idea what's going on. And so they're scared, and so they lash out.
Yeah, that is very interesting because that really fits when I go travel down to Tennessee, or when I have in the past.
Right.
And I've stopped in rural areas and towns. I did notice about that. They're all kind of very similar, and they seem like they're set in their ways, and they've been like that for generations.
And what's really interesting, after the Civil War, and there was this thing called the Black Migration, meaning they were all the blacks were, promised 50 acres and a mule. And when that didn't happen, and there were a lot of smart black folk, because most inventions in the South were done by women, the women of the master's wife, and the black guy, right? And so anyway, a lot of them just came up north, went to Chicago, Detroit, and, kept going east. And this area, like Johnson City, Kingsport, were the Silicon Valley of the 19th century.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of gas, there in West Virginia's part of this too. And so there was a lot of natural gas, and there was lots of water, and they made dams. And so this is one of the first places that had industrial electricity. And so a number of Kodak is in Kingsport, and they have the same Kodak chemical. And they invented all the plastics.
Really?
Yes. Now they then basically sold or licensed the patents to people like GE and DuPont and those kind of guys who kind of industrialized it and turned it into products. But so there were a lot of really smart people here. So what's really interesting, you go through these towns and you'll be at the supermarket or at Walmart or at a restaurant, and the lady at the cashier or your waitress or whatever, they will be white, but they have the bone structure of black people, and they have freckles. Have you ever seen a white person with freckles on their cheeks?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I've known some, and I know exactly what body structure you're talking about.
Yes, and so they, somewhere in their lineage, were black people.
Yep.
Right. So
and they are white, yeah, and they're not like albino. They're
right, exactly.
White.
because there's Irish and Scottish and German and all kinds of other people who, because in that period between like the 1870s and 1904, this was a really good place for people to be because it was, like I said, it was a Silicon Valley. You could get paid really well. You had a nice lifestyle. And all these little towns, you could see that at some point they were a rich town. So they have a library, they have a theater, they have an opera house, stuff like they have a college,
Yeah. There was a lot. So when I traveled down to Ohio for work,
right?
I noticed the people there have a certain physical look to them,
right?
Their face, and a lot of them actually have physical problems.
Yes,
almost like inbreeding.
Inbreeding, yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it's true. We all noticed that when we went down there for work, like me and my coworkers,
right?
And everyone said it. We were like, we're not trying to be mean, but honestly.
Well, what happens is you have this big influx of people.
They're all poor.
Right, exactly. And the other interesting thing
married into the families
is that the real strength of these folk is so at that period, between 1870 and 1910, because there were a lot of minerals here, not in great excess, but enough to make a product. That's why Oak Ridge is here. There are a lot of things that were in the ground that you could get out, and because people were already getting it out, and there was electricity and gas, and that's why Kodak Chemical was here. ETSU was in Johnson City, and that was a big engineering school. And they had, and they didn't have roads, but they had railroads everywhere.
That is cool.
And that's how they had small gauge, and that's how people got around, because the mining was way over there in that holler. And so the company just built this railroad to pull that shit out. So all of that stuff was there. So there's this can-do attitude. And then after Woodrow Wilson, things got, mixed up a bit and became more whiter than white, and the black people moved to the bigger cities and et cetera. Anyway, so the interesting thing about this neck of the wood is that it has a can-do attitude. I mean, like when we had the event and it was really horrific and the county couldn't respond, the state couldn't respond, FEMA couldn't respond, but we did. The Holland folk here came together and we were superheroes, right?
Yeah.
And they have that in them. Even though they have been told that they're inbred and stupid, they're not. I mean...
No, they're not. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, it's a very interesting motif of the Americana, and that's kind of what Donnie's trying to do by taking over the Smithsonian and museums and all that. He wants to just control the narrative where it's all white people like him that's valuable and everyone doesn't exist. That's not like him.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Oh, my God. It drives me insane.
Yes.
It drives me insane. I know, like, a great example of that with him and his situation is the way he's handling student loans.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example. He says, okay, so we have let's start here. We have a broken system.
Right.
For our education, our higher education.
Right.
The system itself is broken. And what's his reaction?
He attacks the people who the broken system is fucking.
You guys pay 10% of your wages.
Right.
Okay, yeah, 10%. That's a lot of freaking money.
Yes, because he wants a cut of it. He's taking a cut of all this shit. Personally. Yeah. He's personally taking it.
Yeah. So this guy, that's a perfect example. Okay, how about saying, if he was smart, he would say, all right, let's look at the system and what we need to fix.
Right.
And then maybe we can make adjustments, and we're not gonna make it detrimental to all the borrowers because they want an education, and they actually, do something to better themselves for this country.
And not only that, the foreigners that are coming in, those are the only people. They come in by $100 hundreds of thousands every year. And they go to lots of different schools, and they mostly do research kind of work. And he has killed all of the research. He's closed all the labs, everybody. There's no more research doing. That means we're not going to make any money.
Yeah. Yeah. Research and development in every ways.
Yep.
Very important in any industry.
And so all those people have gone to Europe and to China, to all over the place, and we're not us. And it's amazing that as soon as he started putting the tariffs on in April, everyone was ready to disconnect from America. I mean, it didn't freak them out. They just went to it and reorganized. And we are cut out of all of it.
Yeah, we are. We are.
Like right now. So where you are, do you see the factories closing down because of the lack of the resources coming in from Canada?
I don't know about Canada. I've never heard anything about Canada affecting us, but I do know, like, automotive plants have shut down for sure because, no one's buying $70,000.
But no, it's why they're no, it's not that. Why they are not buying it. I mean, they've had the biggest sale this last quarter. Why they're shutting down is that the manufacturing of automobiles was done in Canada, United States, and Mexico. And, parts of a car would go to Mexico, get worked on, come and then put into a car in America, and then sent down to Mexico to do this, and then sent over to Canada. That's all closed, right? And so we do not, we have close to 3% of the copper in this country that we use. Almost 80% came from Canada. Now, none of it comes. They stopped sending us copper.
Wow.
No more wires.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And
I know, even from what I learned in my school, I was learning about economics and different things. And so I learned that we all know this. You don't have to learn it in school. But many people, basically what you're saying is, we live in a global
economy.
And we decided to do that,
so we could control it, So we could, after World War II.
We can't just switch back.
No.
Yeah.
And we've already, when Donnie was here.
And consumers, not producers, consumers. So for him to switch everything back.
And it can't. Because you need money, and we're broke. And, all these companies promised him, we're going to, give you, $600 billion, right? Well, they never said when they were going to give it to us.
Right.
They just said, yes, well, we'll invest in America. We're going to give you $600 billion. But they didn't say, tomorrow. And none of that has shown up. And everyone kind of, just is like telling Donnie what a great guy is and just saying, fuck you. And Europe is also the dead man walking, meaning Europe is, they have no resources. They've, for 400 years been the imperial guys taking the stuff from South America and Africa. And those countries aren't, putting up with it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what BRICS is all about. And China is the only guy who's kind of got a heads up on it. But China is also the dead man walking because of their demographics. In 5 years, 80% of their population is going to be over 60 years old.
Yeah. China definitely has a lot of issues. And it is definitely... I don't know how they'll end up.
The real problem is in that 40-year period after Mao died, after Nixon, and they had those 4 different, presidents who were realized what it was, and that's when China shined. But now when we have Xi, he is the 21st century version of Mao. He's the single guy.
He is.
Right. And that's their big problem, is that he has to, everyone has to go to him to get the okay. So yeah, that's the problem, is that. And until the power of humanity's diversity is, set free and everyone works together in love's co-creation, it's just going to get darker and darker and darker. So here we are, having tonight being the black moon, right? And so we have to basically understand the yin yang sign, meaning, black isn't bad and white is good. No, they are component parts of each other.
Yeah.
And we have to understand, Carl Jung. When you're going to school, did you read any psychology? Did you read any Carl Jung?
No, I never read Carl Jung.
Well, that's another guy to put on your book list.
Okay.
Because he talks about the shadow in our soul, right? And he says that the shadow oppresses everything until you shed light on it and see what it is. I mean, it's not bad. It just has to be illuminated and appreciated, understood, right? Otherwise, the darker side can just control you and you don't even know you're being controlled.
Exactly. That's spot on, man.
Yeah. So
that's spot on. Yeah.
So go read you some.
What we're doing.
Yes, exactly.
What habits we're doing.
Exactly.
And admit it, and admit it, and understand why we're doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's never changed.
Yep. And that's what the bottom line is. If you don't open yourself up to who and what you really are, understand who you are, you're going to be just controlled by the habitual action of the shadow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you are. And yeah, you really have. It's like I said, it's tough. Like to really admit who you are, and accept without being influenced by your surroundings too much.
So that's why I'm in the deep green. I have no, I'm out surrounded by nature. I have no internet, no phone, no TV, no nothing.
Yeah.
And
you do? Yeah, that's smart, man. Me and my wife, we went to the store yesterday. Because she wanted to get some, like a shirt or whatever. And man, these people, they're just so rude and unconscious.
Yeah.
And, their kids are screaming in front of us. The mom goes, "Stop, boys, stop." And then they continue to do it. She says it like 5 times. I'm like, oh my gosh, just, have some meaning behind your words. Like,
not only that, what the real deal is.
Unconscious and ignorant, and we are like, we got to get home. Like, we just went home after that. Right?
Well, the thing about the kid screaming like that, when a child is a child, he's the closest to his purity, right? And as he gets old, so he's seeing the hypocrisy, or she's seeing the hypocrisy of everything around it. And every time she tries to speak, where's the love? I came from this place where it was all love, and now here all this. I don't want a doll. I don't want it, And then they give her a doll, and okay, I like the doll. I don't want candy. Oh yeah, that's candy. So by the time the child is like 6, he's already controlled.
Yep, it's fully controlled with short-term satisfaction.
Yep, right.
Short-term.
Yep.
Things like that. Like
yep.
The doll.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, here, take this iPad.
Right.
And stare at it for 3 hours so I don't hear you.
Yep.
Talk.
Exactly.
It's sick, and I'm tired of it, man. And it's really hard for me and my wife to just say, because we're both 31. 30. She's 32. I'm 31. I'm about to be 32. But it's hard for us to just be like, yeah, we want kids. Like, we would love to have kids. No. Like, we were on the fence about it. We were going to, we're going to try maybe. But, like, even now we're kind of backtracking. We're like,
well, you know what you could do?
What are you going to do? Throw them in public schools?
Right.
And, like,
well, you know
it's just like, I don't struggle to study the useless subjects that they learn in school.
What you could do,
the teacher doesn't help them.
What you could do,
he's too lazy.
What you could do is be a sign up to be a substitute parent, not adopt them, but have them, take care of them, because there are a lot of children that need just someone, right? And
like a foster parent?
Yeah, foster parent. That's the word I was looking for. And I did that in New York. I was, in these ghettos, and there were tons of homeless families in the 70s and 80s. And we just took over abandoned buildings. I mean, if you want to get rid of homelessness, you have to give the homeless a home. And there are a ton of abandoned buildings, things that are just falling apart. I mean, you could take all the homeless in America and bring them to Detroit and give them a place, a building of this or that, and give them assistance in renovating it. And that would bring the city back. The Lower East Side, that's exactly what we did. We took over 50 buildings and put 500 families in them. And I put legal electricity. Every one of those apartments had a meter and an electric bill. So when the marshal came to throw them out, these people had an electric bill showing they resided there.
Okay.
Right? And we got cash from, people gave us money, but the area was redlined. There was no banks. So there was a Chase Manhattan Bank. And we met this woman who had been a cashier at that place, and now she was like a, branch manager, and she hated her job. And she came to us, she found out about us, and she came to us and said, listen, I know everything about banking, right? I know how to set up a credit union. If you guys can get 20 grand together, we can take over that. You're taking over abandoned buildings. That bank right there on Avenue A is abandoned. Let's go take it. Let's make it our bank. So we did that, and everyone that we got an apartment for, basically, we trained them in trades and stuff, and so they got employed, they got salaries, and instead of putting it in, some corporate bank, they put it in a credit union. So I left New York City in '88, and I had these 128 kids who were like, this one kid's running across. I'm sitting, on the edge of my truck, and I'm watching this kid with a gun in his hand run across. I said, yo, come here, kid. And he comes over. What? I said, what do you got that gun? Where'd you get that gun? Oh, Bobby gave me the gun. He gave me $10 to run it over to Avenue C where Mikey, I'm supposed to bring him the gun. I said, no, that's where the cops are waiting. That gun was just used to make a, crime. And you're going to have the gun, and you're going to be in jail for 40 years. And you're only 15. So listen, give me that gun. I broke it. I threw it into the drain. I said, you're going to be my electrical helper, and I'm going to pay you $10 an hour, and I'm going to give you a place to live. So I did that to 128 kids, right?
Wow.
So they were my...
Was that the first kid?
No, he was somewhere in between, in the middle. He was like 52. By that time, I really could spot him and grab them. And they were all smart, and they weren't going to school, and because there were no schools, right? It wasn't because he was skipping school. There was no school. New York was bankrupt. Anyway, so virtually they all came out the other side. They all had jobs. They all had an apartment that was an abandoned building, but by 1995, it was worth $1 million. So anyway, one of those kids got a hold of me in 2011, and I answered my phone. She goes, "Where has you been?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." And she goes, "Why'd you disappear?" I said, "Well, everything was doing fine, and I didn't need to be there." And she goes, "Listen, you're the closest thing I have to a father. I'm getting married, and I want you there." I said, "What are you doing now?" She goes, "I'm a dentist." I said, "Good."
Amazing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I'll be there. So I went like a few weeks before I saw her, she put me up in her apartment with her soon-to-be husband, and we got buds. And then I just started couch surfing at all my other friends and reintegrating into New York. And so I was walking down Avenue A, Lower East Side, right around 11th Street, where the bank was. I'm just looking at the park, and there's like, restaurants and Jimmy Choo shoes, and I mean high end, and there's skyscrapers. There's like 360-story, condos, and everyone's like rich. And I'm walking around, and this woman comes up and goes, "Ow, ow!" And she grabs me around the waist and starts hugging me. And I look at her, and she goes, "Al, where have you been?" I said, "Not here." And she goes, "Where'd you go?" I said, "Well, I had other things to do. You guys look at this place. It's great." And she goes, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" "You're standing in front of the credit union." "Oh, yeah, there it is." And she goes, "Guess what today is?" And I said, "Wednesday?" She goes, "No, it's the 30th anniversary of the credit union. We're going to have a big party. You got to come." I said, "Of course. Yes. Okay, sure. I'm glad you told me." And she was Beth, the lady who I saw when she was, quit her job and started that. And she goes, "Guess how much money is in the credit union?" I said, "I have no idea." She goes, $1.3 billion.
Wow.
That's because all these people we put into apartments, and we weren't the only one. Once we did it, other people did it. So all of those business weren't, corporate. They were owned by the people who were there. And because this bank was there, these people got jobs and put the money in the bank. And then when people wanted to send their kid to college or start a business, they could go to the credit union and get the money. One of our things when we wrote our 501c3 bylaws was that if you were a member of the credit union, you did not get charged to borrow money.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry.
So you didn't have to pay interest.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you could still do that, set up like a not-for-profit credit union.
Yes, exactly. All that stuff still exists. Does anybody do it? No. It's too hard. Our community center, I said, "Why don't we start a credit union?" It's too hard. And why should we? We have money. We don't have to worry about it. I said, "You babies, you don't know what's coming."
Yeah, right. You do have to worry about it.
Not worry about it. You have to work to change.
Yeah.
Worry is useless.
Well, yes, you got to be prepared. You got to prepare. Yeah.
Right. And not worry, just prepare and work to make it better moving forward. When you are just doing something to make money for yourself, you're not moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right. And if you think giving a check to the Catholic Church is going to make a difference, I don't think so.
Right. No, you have to. Yeah, you have to move forward. That's actually like where I'm at right now. I'm at the point where I'm just doing this to make money.
Right.
I've learned what I'm going to learn, and I'm bored.
Right.
And I could either do this and waste my life, or
no. I told you, you need to start your own concern.
Yeah.
And if
I'm gonna finish. I'm almost done with school. I have 3 classes.
Well, finish up school because they're paying for it, right?
No, I am. But I already had a lot of credits, and I wanted to get my education because it stopped me from getting many jobs.
Right.
To help me. It's true. It's sad, but true. I mean, it's a cold world out here, but that's besides the fact. But I will be, moving forward. I will be moving forward.
So I'm going to talk to the audience here because now there are 4 persons listening to our conversation. So guys, you just listened to Toolman and me talk about stuff. And so you got any questions for either of us? Because, the last someone said was about an hour and a half ago, and the question was, what's your favorite song?
Oh, great.
And the other three things before were, hi, how you doing? Hello. Hi. And I'd already been talking for about, 40 minutes about lots of different things. But
Right.
and right about now, let's see, what time is it? Yeah, it's getting about 6. The no-see-ums and mosquitoes are coming out. And it's like, this is like the perfect time because it's not super hot. The sun isn't out. It's actually been cold. It's supposed to be in the 50s tomorrow.
Wow, really?
Yes, it was 90 yesterday, and tomorrow's supposed to be in the 50s. It's like, really? So
That's wild.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be here. Let me check. I didn't even look at it recently. Tomorrow is going to be 75.
So, do you work tomorrow? Or do you off tomorrow?
Yeah, I work tonight and tomorrow. I could still talk, but I would love to keep talking. But I work tomorrow too, and around 7 o'clock. Yeah, 7 o'clock.
So you start work at 7. So I could give you a jingle at 4 or 5.
Yeah, like today, that was perfect.
Okay.
We could talk till whatever, till I get to work or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. I'll let you go back to whatever you were doing. Say goodbye to the community.
Yeah, goodbye, guys. I'm glad I got to have this conversation and, use it. Use the conversation
Right.
to better yourself.
Not only that, use the conversation as an example of a conversation. Like today, I went off and got my week's worth of gasoline for my car. I went to see this guy I know whose wife just died, and he's kind of in the dumps. I took him to breakfast. We were at the breakfast spot, and he's a real churchy guy, so we talked about church. And so then I went and did errands, and like getting gas and a few other things. And things are really starting to get expensive.
Yeah. I know. It's bad. Things are not getting better.
No. And one of the places, there's certain places I go to that it's a real good barometer. One is Tractor Supply, because they have, whatever they got for Tractor Supply, it's all the same. They've had it for years,
Yeah, right. I love Tractor Supply.
It's like Walmart. Shit changes all the time, but Tractor Supply, it's right. And there were certain things like this one manufacturer. I'm a big fan of gloves, and they have these great gloves, really protect your hand. And it's 12 gloves for like $8. 12 sets of gloves for $8. Work gloves, rubberized one side, cloth on. It's a cloth thing dipped in some rubbery stuff, so you can work on any gooky anything, and it's not going to fuck your hands up. And you can work on things that have sharp edges, and it won't fuck your hands up. And anyway, so it's forever. Those gloves have been $7. In the last 2 weeks, or at least last month, because it's been longer than 2 weeks, it's now $18.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
That's a big jump.
And they have this area that has all these tools that are really nice sets of tools, like, pliers and needle nose and a wrench and a this and a that, and it's $6. Now it's $23.
Oh my God. I know, man. Is it Porter Cable, that brand?
Yeah.
Yeah, they sell Porter Cable.
Well, they sell,
Oh my God, that sucks.
Well,
wow.
It's what it is. And not everything. Their other stuff is still the same. And they always had stuff like on specials, right? And they used to sell, because I live outside, I'm like basically camping. I have stuff. So, it's, to protect it, I wrap it up in a tarp. And they used to sell like 9 by 11 tarps for $5, right?
Yeah.
Now they're $28.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
$28.
Right.
Yeah, because I just bought one at Harbor Freight. I mean, it's like thin, super cheap.
Right.
But I think it wasn't 28, but I'm pretty sure it was like 15.
Yeah. And Harbor Freight's another
cheap.
place
It was cheap.
that has the so those work safety glasses, the yellow ones and the dark ones, right? That are like
Yep.
90. They used to be 99 cents, and then they went to they right now they're at $1.99, and they have they stuff has kind of gone up, but not like Tractor Supply there. But I'm sure they will, right? Have you, if you go to Harbor Freight, have you seen their nice Harbor Freight carry bags that cost like 99 cents that are really big?
Oh, no, I haven't. Not yet.
Well, they're in every one. They're really great. I use them to store stuff because they fit a certain type of box that people just throw away. And then you have this box covered by this almost, really strong material that has handles.
Okay.
Right?
I would like to buy some. I need them. Yeah.
Well, they're in there and they're 99 cents. They used to be 49 cents.
Wow, so they doubled.
When they first came out back in the Joe Biden years, right? So.
Right. Oh my God.
Yes, but anyway, that's not scientific economics, but that's kind of the view. And most people, so the people like in my church, one of the churches I go to, so they're all holler folk and they've been here forever, but they all kind of were the ones who kind of did okay in school, so they went to college and they became teachers and business people and that kind of stuff. So they're doing pretty good. So they think they're doing really good because when they were kids, they were living in houses that didn't have indoor plumbing,
Right. Yeah, they were really poor.
Right. But they didn't know they were poor.
Right. Yeah, they didn't. That's how they grew up.
All right. That's how they grew up. So they didn't really consider themselves poor. That's just how they grew up. And so that's really interesting because they have that kind of worldview. So, but they still have their biases because it was laid upon them through school and their jobs and all of that, right? So,
yep, they were programmed.
They were programmed, right. So anyway, and their grandmas, are the ones who weren't, that had real common sense. And when I got here 25 years ago, those are the people I used to hang out with, So.
Okay.
And
do you ever see that, or do you ever talk to them in New York still?
Oh yeah, I have friends all around the world I talk to, like I talk to you. Yes, that's the magic of the cell phone. I can talk to them. But what's really interesting is that the majority of those folks in New York who think they're really swank and artists and blah 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 and all that stuff, they are so stuck. They're as stuck as the holler bourgeois. They're bourgeois. Anybody who's stuck is basically bourgeois.
Yeah, for sure.
So look that word up. Look that word up.
I know what it means.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, go ask Google what it means.
I will. Yeah.
I mean that's a good marker. And what's interesting? Once you really kind of understand that and embrace that, you'll realize how much we are all bourgeois.
Oh my God, I know, especially as Americans.
Right. And so I'm your Sensie Owl Bob, but I'm still bourgeois.
Yeah, you're bourgeois, I'm bourgeois.
But that's what fucking killed me. So I mean, I'm aware of it. So that's the real difference. If you're aware of your shortcomings and you see it, and you stop and say, okay, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Let's change it for the better so I'm not right. So that's how things change. But very few people do that.
No, very few, yeah.
Right, so. Well, anyway, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow. That's the thing I want you to think about. The black moon, what's the weather like where you are right now?
It's about 83
No.
degrees
Like, is it raining? Is it cloudy? Is it any of the above?
No, it's partly cloudy, but not bad at all.
So where you live, is there a dark spot that you can look up at the sky and see stars?
I think it's hard. I'm in the city, like just outside of Detroit.
Right.
So it's kind of hard, but I could find certain spots where I could at least,
Like
you
in
know,
your
it's
neighborhood,
decent.
is there a spot that, you could... Anyway, the thing about tonight is go in your backyard and look at where the moon should be and think of the black moon and think of your habitual actions and think of your bourgeois mentality and put it into, I'm changing my skin.
Okay.
Right?
I will.
And for this next lunar cycle, try and do that. If it's not raining outside and wait till it gets dark and see the moon and think of those things and see how you can reprogram yourself in not some, because people go, oh, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's bourgeois bullshit, you have to get in.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you kind of have to get inside of yourself and pain. So I have lots of pain, right? And that's my friend, because it really does point me in the direction where I should be looking at things,
Oh, I bet. God, pain is. I realized that when I used to get those headaches.
Yeah.
And
that was
the
your
worst pain I've
super
ever
conscious
had in my
mind.
life.
Your super conscious mind was watching the life you had. It was going, what is wrong with this guy? And it was like hitting you in the head with the paranormal 2x4,
Exactly. I'm going to try tonight. So I'm going to work.
Okay.
And my work is kind of far away in the sticks a little bit.
Okay.
So I might be able to see the moon tonight on my lunch break. I might just go out there.
Well, look where
Like
you're not.
midnight.
It's going to be dark. It's going to be darker than normally is, because it's a new moon. So you're not going to see the moon. But let's see if you can feel the energy of it. Do they give you a break?
Yeah, I'm kind of like the supervisor, so I can't. It depends what's going on.
Right.
I mean, they give me a break. I still take my break, but not at the same time every night. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, if you can get 10 minutes and go outside, do you have a folding chair, like in your garage?
Yeah, I do.
Like one of those cheapo $9 Walmart's kind of cloth metal tube.
Yep. Yeah, the foldable.
Yeah. But throw that in your car, and when you can go and sit outside, in a darkish place, take it to work with you, put it over in the corner, and then so you don't have to go to the car where there's probably parking lot lights. So go someplace near your job where it kind of is dark, right? So
I will. Yeah.
See what you can get, and think of all those things we were talking about. See what you can do, and bring your little notebook and write whatever things pop into your head.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You know.
I'll talk to you tomorrow around the same time.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll talk. Call me at the same time.
Yeah, around 4-ish. Okay.
Yeah.
Later, bud.
Okay, bye. Bye.
So, gang, what do you think? Whoa. So the show has been going on for an hour and 48 minutes. I think I'm going to, you guys really haven't said anything. You could have been part of the show. You all could have said something. It was nice that you were saying, yo, said hi, said hi, said hi, said hi. Come on, guys. We are in interesting times, As Dickens said, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. We're all going to heaven, we're all going the other way. So it's all up to you what you want to do with it. Okay? Okay. I'm going to say goodnight. Sweet dreams.